Hey guys, today I wanted to talk about generating ideas. So, in this world we live in now, we've got AI to compete with. And a lot of people, I think, are tempted to use it to solve problems for them, to do the creative thinking. Well, I'm here to say that the creative thinking is the fun part. It's the part of being a designer, an artist, or an illustrator that actually gets me up in the morning. That's the thing I actually want to do. There are many mundane tasks that I'd love to offload to somebody else or a computer, and I don't mind. Take Photoshop, for example. I've got to remove a background or do something technical like that. Sure, happy to have AI do it. But generating a logo, coming up with a concept for a product or a business, or thinking of an illustration to go on a t-shirt or make a poster, whatever, I want to do that. I want to make up the idea. I want to be responsible for the creative part. So I have some thoughts on that I wanted to kind of talk through. So to do that, I'm going to show you an example of just a quick sketch I made the other day for a t-shirt concept. So thinking about Nashville, I was trying to come up with a concept or an idea that said, I love Nashville. And I started trying to put together some thoughts on what would be in a logo that could then be part of a t-shirt or a sticker or something else. And so I started going through this process, and ultimately I landed here where I thought, of course, the universal symbol of love is a heart. And somewhere along the way, it occurred to me that a heart is very close in shape to a guitar pick. So those two items could be connected in some way. And so I wanted to come up with some method to connect that visually. So I thought a guitar neck and Nashville handwritten, and then, the heart pick stuck into the guitar strings, or maybe down, kind of highlighting it a little more obviously, a large guitar pick with a guitar in the middle with a heart shape around it. So it'd be really clear that that was actually heart pick guitar Nashville music. La di da. There you go. There's an idea. So, how did I arrive at that? Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes when working on a project, inspiration strikes and something happens, and you're able to create something that didn't exist before. On the other hand, there's a lot of times when you don't have a good idea and you're kind of stuck trying to figure out, okay, how do I get somewhere with this? And you can try many different ideas and different methods. But for me, the tried and true way to kind of get through this process is something I call randomization. So what that means is I start writing lists. So for me, that's thinking of a concept, Nashville, and then I go on a piece of paper, my sketchbook, and I start writing out words that represent Nashville to me, whether it's, city, music, whatever random thing comes to mind, guitars, musical instruments. I write down anything and everything that comes to mind. I'll even be doing a Google search at this time. I'll search Nashville and I'll look for lists of words and things associated with it. That starts generating my my random list. Then I start making a second list, and that second list is adjectives. So I start thinking of, okay, what adjective might represent Nashville? You know, um, tourism, opera house, whatever. I start thinking of other words that might connect with it. And in this case, it was love and trying to think of how do you connect those two. Once I've generated a list of a lot of different words, then I start associating objects, symbols, or graphics with those words. And I start thinking of things that would represent that. And I start doodling those things, whether it's a guitar pick or it's a guitar, the shape of a guitar, a silhouette, or other musical instruments. I'll draw those and doodle those on a piece of paper. Then, when thinking about the name Nashville, I might start looking up calligraphy styles and doodling the word Nashville and doodling out different shapes and things that go along with the word itself. Then those things I start mashing together in different ways. So I start trying to say to myself, okay, let's just pick a word. Awesome. Okay. If I wanted to, that's probably too generic of a word. Let's think of something else. How about amazing? No. Let's say I just pick up exciting, the word exciting, and I mash that up with Nashville. What would happen if I combine those two words? Where does it go from there? Ultimately, for the purposes of talking about this process, it doesn't matter what words I pick. What I'm trying to say is that by allowing these independently formed lists to be created and then to start mashing things together, I start coming up with different ideas that didn't exist before. It's the mashup that's the trick. So I do that either with words and alliteration, or I do that with objects and shapes, like a guitar pick and a heart. Mashing those together, suddenly something else happens that didn't exist before. So the moral of the story is, the tip is that you combine things that you never thought of combining together before and see what happens. And 99% of the time, it's a failure. It doesn't make sense. But there's that 1% that comes along that goes, that's the idea. That's what I've been looking for. That process sometimes can take 15 minutes. Sometimes it can take an hour. Sometimes it can take a couple days. So, in my own experience, I've learned that if I work on a problem for, let's say, 15 to 20 minutes and it's just not working, abandon it, move on, do something else. Change your view, change your perspective, walk outside, look at the computer, do something else, work on a different problem. Most of the time that happens, that allows me to relax a little bit and get away from, you know, that writer's block, that, getting designed into a corner, whatever is happening that's kind of stunting this idea. By changing pace, doing something else, it usually frees it up. And that's why I say over a couple days. I'm not literally sitting there working on the idea for a couple days. I just know that I need to plant the seeds for a little while and then walk away and come back, and something will germinate, something will happen, an idea will come together. So, how do I relate that to art and design? What I would say is that you need to set the table by giving yourself options. And that brainstorming process isn't restricted or limited to anything. It's whatever comes to mind. And then let it progress, doodle, sketch. And I think that's an essential part of the process, is that you take these ideas, you take these little notes that you make in your sketchbook, and you let your hand do the work. You start doodling and sketching. There's something that happens in the process of thinking that slows time down a little bit. When you're sketching on a piece of paper, it's forcing your mind to connect with your hand and you're thinking through something. If you're just typing or sitting and pondering, it's not the same effect. And I know this generation might look at me and go, "What are you doing, boomer? What's your idea here?" That's not how it works. I'd rather just go to my computer and get it done like that. No, we're human beings. We have human attributes. And for us to think and to use our intellect, we really need to tap into our entire being. That sounds kind of stupid and metaphysical, but what I mean is that connecting your mind with your hand and letting yourself work through a problem, sketch through a problem, good solutions happen. It allows your mind to kind of disconnect a little bit and then reconnect the dots and reconnect things in a way that didn't exist before. So these sound like random thoughts from my mind, just kind of dumping it out there. But I had this little sketch on my table that I was playing with, and I thought I would explain this little nebulous part of the process. And I think it's hard to describe, frankly, when you're trying to teach someone or tell someone how to be creative. I don't think that you're just born creative, that you can't just learn this skill. In fact, I think part of it is just learning to relax a little bit, to not put so much pressure on yourself and to assume that everything you do has to be amazing. It's not going to be amazing. Sometimes you just run out of time and you do the best you can. But I do believe that the struggle through the creative process is more important and critical in this day and age than ever before. Very quickly, we are being overtaken by all of these automated processes, this artificial intelligence. And listen, I'm not trying to go against that. I think there are many benefits to using artificial intelligence in your life. but I don't think it's a good idea to offload the creative side of our human experience. I think we need to remain in charge and in control of creativity because that's where the best ideas come from. Certainly, AI can be trained to think like me or to, connect the dots like me or to create things that are similar to other things that have been done before. But the real creation, the real creative process comes through human experience. All right. So, whatever this is, whatever this video is, I hope it means something to you and it can help you. I'll try to collect my thoughts and continue this process later. Thanks a lot.